So for the next character, and pushing this start or back button allows you to select your color palettes, which I didn't do. They've got some that were submitted by the backers in the campaign, and some that are just designed by the devs with some really interesting fighting game or other random references. Like, I'm pretty sure that one is supposed to be Raven from Teen Titans. I'll go with the... I'll go with the default, wherever it is. There we go. And I guess we're beating up Palm again. So this is Oleander. He's a unicorn. And this is actually my main character in this. It's the one I've played around with the most. So for her, she has a combination of close range and mid-range attacks. You can see she attacks with that floating demonic book. And her attacks are interesting in that they tend to cover a lot of distance, but sometimes they come out slower. So for her, you have to be careful about which moves you're using because they'll leave you vulnerable if you throw them out and the opponent blocks. So for the basics, her light is this quick thrust. The medium is a sweeping hit with the book. And hard is sort of uppercut, which I believe functions as anti-air. Hits all the way around her. Her low attacks are pretty standard. Her low, or crouching medium, I believe, also hits anti-air. You can use it to poke people that are coming in, which is pretty useful. And the hard one shoots all the way out in front of her and hits low. One of her unique attacks, forward light, is this sort of horn strike. I'm assuming that hits directly in front of her as well. And forward hard is this big book smack, and that has a lot of range. That'll hit from mid distance and stuff people if they're coming in. Her launcher is also down forward hard. It's this sort of tentacle smack that hits people skyward. For special moves, we'll go down the list here. She basically has two main special moves. The first one is Fellspark, which is a fireball. Just quarter circle forward and attack. The strength of the button used is basically just the speed. So that could be used to get distance on the opponent, to lock them down, keep them out, or to mix up into the combos for damage too. Her second special move is her teleport, which is down, down, and any of the buttons. So the light version teleports directly forward in front of the opponent. The medium version is behind. And the hard version moves her backwards. For Oleander's magic system, you'll notice that her magic bar, which has 3 pips, does not refill on its own. It's empty. If I hit the magic button once, she'll read her book and get 1 bar. If I hold it down, she'll continue reading and she'll get bars consecutively, and then once her meter's full, she starts getting super. So you can see if I was ever in a situation where no one was hitting me, I could max out my super meter relatively quickly. Her magic attacks allow her to do a couple different things. If I do a quarter circle back, fireball input, and an attack button, she launches out a trap. And these are called... where are they? Magic traps, right? So those stay out for a certain amount of time, and if the opponent touches them, they do damage, and I believe they give her super meter. And so the light one comes out right at her feet. The medium one shoots out a little bit further. The hard one goes straight up and comes down. And they'll go away after a couple seconds, or if she takes a hit in between. So if I go fill magic, those are kind of useful because you can use them as combo extenders. So if you're throwing out light, medium, hard, and you do the input, she'll toss another one out in the middle, and you can continue your combos, which is pretty useful. If you use a fireball forward for the fell spark, but you use the magic button, it uses all of the meter, her magic meter, but it does a massive, really quick projectile. So if you feel like you have an opening and you have meter to burn, you can tack on a massive projectile. And I believe that one also has the highest damage of her projectiles. But it can be a bit costly because it completely empties out your magic meter. And the last thing she can do is her teleport. I had to look at the command list for a second. If you do down, down plus magic, she does a sort of super teleport that I believe always goes to the enemy and it does damage. Which is kind of neat. And it can hit off the ground, apparently.
Got it.
So Oleander's playstyle is based around mixing up her different moves and her projectiles, and also moving around the screen to sort of position. She sort of reminds me of Spinal in Killer Instinct, and the new Killer Instinct, in that she's got to manage meter by reading, which allows her to sort of change the way her different moves work. And then she also has a sort of trap system with the magic traps. The downside being you have to find the openings to read, and you can be hit by the enemy, so if you're not careful, you'll leave yourself open. So her first super is same inputs as the others. It's a quarter circle forward and 2 attacks. And that one, I don't have the names memorized, the Dark Spark. That is full screen beam. Comes out relatively quick and hits pretty hard. It can be done in the air, it can be done after combos, so if you're hitting the enemy and you have an opening and a super bar, you can just tack on the super to the end. Like so. Her continuation super, which is done the same way by inputting a reverse fireball before the beam is done, looks like this. That summons her buddy Fred out of the book, and he can be used sort of like Eddie in Guilty Gear. You can do certain inputs using the magic button, and he will attack the enemy for you. Not too good at controlling him, but you can use him to sort of cross up the opponent and lock them down while he's out, and then after a short amount of time he goes back in the book. It's also worth noting that Oleander is one of the only characters in the game that has a double jump. I don't think anybody else does. So that means she can cancel attacks with her double jump in the air for continuing combos. So if I were to do a launcher and I do an input in the air, I can essentially jump again and continue it. Like so. So she can play it mid and close range, or she can do fireballs from afar, teleport right in the face, and sort of use the trap system to keep the opponent on their toes. And really interesting character, and the one I played around with the most. Still kind of learning how to use the traps offensively. But that's Oleander in a nutshell.